Okay, everyone, I am going to show you how to do one of the homework problems. I'm going to do problem number 27 in the book, which is very similar for what you have to do next. So here we're looking at carbon 14, and I have right here the formula that we're going to use. And the information we're given is the half-life in years, and the half-life, I'll just kind of write this off to the side. The half-life for number 27 for carbon 14 is 5,700 years. And if you remember your chemistry, and if you don't, I'm going to tell Mr. Severin. If you remember your chemistry, all that means is that half of the mass of this isotope decays in 5,700 years. And we're also given that the initial quantity was or is 3 grams. So we're given that A is 3 grams. So the first thing we have to do is solve for K. And after we solve for K, we can answer the real question. And the question in the book is, how much am I going to have after 1,000 years? So let me actually erase that. Amount after 1,000 years. Okay, let's get started. So I know that if my initial amount or my initial mass is 3 grams, I don't know K. I know that in 5,700 years, I will have half of 3, and half of 3 is 1.5 or 3 halves. And so my job here is to solve for K. That's what I have to do first. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and that's just going to give me 1/2 equals e to the k times 5,700. By the way, if you're thinking each and every time you do a half-life problem, can you set it up so it's 1/2 equals e to the 5,700k? The answer is yes, because we're dealing with half-life. It's always going to end up being 1/2. Okay, so I want to solve for k, and this is an exponent, so I'm going to natural log both sides. So I'm going to natural log this side, natural log of 1/2 equals the natural log of e to the 5,700k. And what happens? Okay, so I'm going to take my calculator out. Let's see. And what is the natural log of 1/2? It's negative 0.693147. Notice I don't really round now. You don't want to round at the intermediate steps or the steps in between because it might affect your answer in the end. Equals the natural log of e, that equals 1, so that cancels down. And the power rule for exponents says that now this comes down, right? The power rule says that this comes down. So I'm left with 5,700k times 1, or 5,700k. 5,700k. Okay? And now I'm just going to divide both sides by 5,700. And I have negative 0.00121605. If you are doing this on your calculator, you want at least 5 or 6 decimal places, because remember, Assistments is going to ask you to round to the nearest second decimal place or third decimal place. And if you keep rounding at the intermediate steps, by the time you get to the final answer, it might be wrong. Also, this will probably be a good time for you to check the float on your calculator. Remember what that is? That's setting your calculator to the 6th or 7th decimal place. So do that before you start your homework. Okay, so that's K. So now that we know what K is, we can go ahead and answer the question on number 27, and that is, how much carbon 14 am I going to have after 1,000 years? So, okay, so let's see. Y equals A, which is 3. Actually, you know what? Let's actually just remind ourselves. This is the formula. This is the future amount. This is, of course, time in years. K is that factor, that decay factor, which we just solved for. And A is initial amount, starting amount. So we had to do that first step to solve for K to actually answer the question. Okay? So Y, the future amount, that's what we're solving for in this time. A, the initial amount, that's 3. We already know that. E. K, we solved that. I actually forgot what it was. Let's see, what was it? Negative 0.00012165. Okay, and T is 1,000. Remember the problem saying, well, how much are you going to have after 1,000 years? So times 1,000. We don't really need a calculator for that. We're just moving the decimal place 3 times, 3 places to the right. So 3e raised to that power. Okay, so let's keep going. So y equals 3e raised to the negative. Well, this is my stylus is acting funny, guys. Sorry. There we go. Negative, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So negative 0.121605. And here, we're not natural logging anything. I know you see E and automatically you want to use the natural log button. You use the natural log button when there's a variable and you're trying to solve for it. We don't have that here. So here, I'm just putting this into my calculator. 3 times E raised to the negative 121,605. So let me just get my calculator. And that is going to give me, when I round to the nearest 2 decimal places, 2.66. So let's see here, I'll just, okay. Okay. Y equals 2.66. Let me just double check my answer here. Yep. And that's how much carbon-14 I'm going to have left after 1,000 years. Okay, hope this helps. Bye-bye.